What is up, Knights of Vex? I hope you guys are excited for the end of the era of the New Republic and for the new era of Myths and Legends. And also, what that means is that we're finally going to get our hands on all the new marquee characters of the New Republic and the legendary character Rotta the Hutt in our rosters. I am really looking forward to this guy. He's actually going to be a super beast this season, especially with his focus Datacron, which I'll mention at the end of this video. But more importantly, he's going to be a huge boost to your roster in terms of efficiency of soloing and providing a very good defensive team with leftover Hutt cartel. So if you guys have went for Jabba and he's in your roster and you have all the requirements just sitting there not doing a thing, he's going to help provide an additional team to those characters. So I think he's going to be very important, and I'm really looking forward to his efficiency and his performance in Grand Arena. So what we're going to do today is talk about every single aspect of Rotta the Hutt, including his modding, his Omicron order, his Zeta order, his team comp, and just going over all the different variables about his kit. So we're going to break down each and every aspect of Rotta the Hutt today, including with his basic all the way down to his unique and everything that I just mentioned. So I would really appreciate it if you guys would drop a like in the video and subscribe for more content. These take a lot of time, and I would really appreciate all the support, guys. It's the best free way to support your boy Vex. So without further ado, we're going to get right into the video and talk about exactly how we're going to go about this guy. So let's head over really quick. And this is it. I created a PowerPoint presentation going over each and every aspect of Rotta the Hutt. So first thing I want to talk about is going to be his team comp. And it's not going to be the most complicated. I think it's pretty obvious what it's going to be. But I'm providing different variables to what could possibly be later on, because this guy could be potentially replacing Jabba in some aspects of his regular team. We don't know yet. We have to play test it some more. But I am opening up the option that maybe we can use Jabba on offense as a solo option, and then maybe swap him out for something else. So it really depends on where you are in the game. I just want to show the flexibility that this guy might be able to do other things than the recommended team. So going over the team comps, this is the obvious from what I am seeing. I think that we're going to have, we have Rotta solo in both game mode on offense, because Rotta is just straight up a super Wampa on steroids. The amount of stat boost he is gaining and what he can do offensively against very meta teams is going to be insane. Now, this, going over everything with this later on, I'm going to mention more about it later. He is going to solo a lot. Is he going to be able to solo certain GL squads? Absolutely. But honestly, defeating GLs isn't everything in this game so far. Like, honestly, Galactic Legends are very powerful units, but there's so many counters that it's like, yeah, is he going to be able to solo GLs? Yes, that's important. What's really important is, can he also solo some of the other really strong teams like Queen Amidala, Riva, Ufus, like all these different types of comps, Stranger Maul. Like, we're going to have to see if Rotta the Hutt can do these kind of things. So what I'm going to be recommending is obviously solo in 5v5 and 3v3. That's for efficiency on offense, but we want to also see him on defense. So I think the traditional standard comp, if you don't want to break up your regular Jabba team, is going to be Rotta the Hutt with Cad Bane, Gamorrean Guard, Greedo, and Mob Enforcer. He has really good synergy with Darkside Hutt Cartel support characters, because every time they attack an enemy, you're recovering health and protection. Now, he is going to be the only attacker on the team. Everyone else is support and tank. So he's going to have to hit pretty hard. Otherwise, I mean, they're getting a lot of stat boosts. You're going to see that later on. But that's going to be your traditional team. Now, for funsies, just for funsies to see if he could actually do something with the really overpowered Hutt Cartel, you might want to swap Jabba with Rotta the Hutt every now and then, just to see if it throws off your opponent. I want to do more testing. We're going to do more of that on Tuesday, but I think it'd be pretty interesting that if Rotta could also boost the existing Hutt Cartel to even more heights. So I want to throw that in there. That might not be the traditional standard thing going forward, but I want to keep your guys' mind open to maybe he could be replacing Jabba for the interim, possibly. And then for 3v3, if you're going to use him on defense, I think that Cad Bane is going to be a really good third, because he's got a double tap, a Terminator removal. Gamorrean Guard is going to be your tank for the team, so he has good synergies with tanks and support characters. So I think that personally is going to be your best 3v3 defensive Rotta comp. We're going to have to see. And then same concept in 3v3 as 5v5 for Jabba, replacing Jabba and adding Bausch and Chrysanthemum. I know there's going to be a couple things turned off from doing that, but I think it'd be pretty interesting. I just wanted to throw that in there. So those are the team comps that I'm going to be recommending for Rotta the Hutt. We're going to have to see how it plays out in live. Now, the modding. This is going to be my initial mod recommendations. This doesn't mean that it's going to be the staple going forward. This is what I'm recommending in the beginning because I was thinking about it. I looked over his kit a little bit and I was like really trying to determine what could be the best modding. Initially, I was thinking running him for full tank, full defense, just for survivability as a solo character. And then I'm starting to realize he's getting a ton of stat boost with his leadership and his unique. Like, he's gaining a ton of stats. So what we kind of want him to do is to survive and hit really hard. So the modding that I went with was very similar to Riva on a Inquisitor squad. I want him modded for offense, but a bulky offensive build. So for the arrow, I'm recommending either a speed arrow or a crit avoid arrow. The reason why I'm recommending a crit avoid arrow, if you can afford it with high speed secondaries, is because he's gaining 50% crit avoid from his leadership. So he's going to be gaining a lot of crit avoid there. If you add another crit avoid arrow, his crit avoidance is going to be really, really high, increasing his survivability throughout the battle. He might be a character that you just want durable and hitting hard. He's going to be gaining a bunch of bonus turns and turn meter through his kit. We'll go over that later on. So he doesn't have to be lightning fast, and he's also gaining a lot of speed through his leadership and his basic ability. So I don't want you guys to worry so much if he's not lightning fast. He has one of the highest base speeds in the game. He's at 196 base speed, so that puts him in the upper echelon of base characters, excluding Galactic Legends. So he's already going to be lightning fast. So if you guys can afford a crit avoid arrow, I think it'll be pretty good for his kit, tying in with his leadership. For the triangle, I think critical damage on the triangle is going to be very good. He gains a lot of critical chance in his kit already. He's going to be hitting pretty hard. So I think adding a crit damage triangle is going to be a really good option for you. In terms of the cross and the circle, I'm recommending health primaries because you do want him to be tanky, and he has really good synergy with max health in his kit. He's gaining 50% max health with his Omicron. So I think tying in max health with his kit, as well as the bonus protection that he's gaining bonus protection, which is based off of your max health, only increases your durability even more. So, and the diamond and the square are always going to be the same. I'm recommending at least 315 speed. It's not essential. He's getting plus 50 speed from his leadership, so it's going to put him at 355 speed if you have him at 315. He's gaining 100 speed through his basic ability throughout the battle, so he's already going to be a very fast character. He's got a bunch of counterattacks. He's going to be doing a lot of work. So you want him to survive, you want him to be decently modded with speed and hitting kind of hard. The only reason I'm not recommending certain offense and health thresholds is because not everyone's going to have a 7-star Rotta on day 1. So for me to recommend hit these thresholds on a 5 or 6 or 7-star character, it's hard to do that kind of math. So I'm not recommending any pinpoint health or offensive threshold. I would just recommend, if I were you guys, go for as many health secondary percentage, offense secondary percentage, and maybe a little bit of potency, because potency is very helpful for his middle ability. Whenever he inflicts off balance, I think on everyone he gets a bonus turn, but you have to be able to inflict it. But I think the Omicron makes it irresistible. He does do well with some potency, but I really think that the best bet for him is going to be offense, crit avoid, speed, health. That's going to be your way to go. Again, this is a initial mod recommendation. This could change down the line, so keep in line for my video on Tuesday when I do the live stream testing Rotta the Hutt. So that's going to be his modding. We're now going to move into his kit a little bit because I want to describe exactly what he's going to be doing. So over here, we're going to start with his basic ability called Cleave the Unworthy. This reads, deal physical damage to target enemy twice and inflict 1 stack of bleed, which can't be evaded or resisted. Bleed is a mechanic we have seen previously with Maul, the next suit in Territory Battle. I'm pretty sure Batcher has a bleed mechanic. Very strong. It hits very hard. And it says, until the end of the encounter, and inflict heal immunity and speed down for 1 turn. Reduce the target enemy's defense by 20% stacking, which can't be resisted until the end of battle. So that means all those high defense crons and base defensive characters are going to be literally 0 defense if he's just spamming auto basic at 1 point. So that's going to be very, very strong. If Rotta the Hutt was the only ally at the start of battle, reduce the target enemy's critical chance by 10%, max 50%, so they're going to lose 50% critical chance, which can't be evaded or resisted, and Rotta gains 20 speed, max 100, until the end of the battle. Rotta recovers 10% health protection. So this is what I was mentioning earlier. He's gaining a load of speed through his basic ability. That's plus 100 speed. So he does 5 basics, that's 100 speed. So that's pretty strong. And then he's recovering health and protection, so having him modded for tanky stats is very nice. It's a very good basic ability. The speed down and heal immunity is not can be resisted, but the defense reduction cannot be. So that's why potency secondaries on the mod set is pretty nice. Not a secondary set, but potency percentages as a substat are pretty nice to have for him if you want it to land. So that's very nice. Very good basic ability. Now, we're moving into the special one, which includes an Omicron and a Zeta. This reads, knock 'em dead. Deal physical damage to all enemies, dispel all buffs on them, inflict 2 stacks of bleed until the end of the encounter, and off balance on them for 2 turns. If all enemies are inflicted with off balance, Rotta gains a bonus turn and 40% offense. So if you inflict off balance on all enemies, you're taking an additional turn and gaining a 40% offense boost. That's really, really strong. So if you tie knock 'em dead and you get go into Showboat, which is his next ability, you're going to be hitting extremely hard. If Rotta the Hutt had a full squad of Hutt Cartel allies at the start of battle, all other allies assist and tank allies taunt for 2 turns. If Rotta is below 50% health, this taunt can't be dispelled. So, very strong ability if you have a full squad of Hutt Cartel, giving you a permanent lock taunt if he's below a certain health threshold. Very nice to have. Now, the Omicron, with it turned on, and if all allies were Hutt Cartel at the start of battle, this ability can't be evaded or resisted. So the way I read this is that if it can't be evaded or resisted, he's automatically going to be inflicting off balance. That's how I read it. I'm not sure if you guys read it that way, but if it says it can't be evaded or resisted, I'm pretty sure this says the bleed and off balance will not be resisted, so he's always going to be gaining a bonus turn, which is going to be really strong. So maybe potency is not going to be as dependent, but I was very confused by how that reads. Maybe it's how I'm intending. If Rotta was the only ally at the start of battle, he inflicts an additional stack of bleed for a max of 6 until the end of battle, until the end of the encounter on all enemies, removes 10% turn meter from them, reduces the cooldown of Showboat by 1, and he gains 50% offense for 1 turn instead. So this is a great ability. I do like it a lot. He's pretty much removing turn meter, unresistible debuffs, inflicting additional stack of bleed, and lowering his cooldowns, and an even more offensive boost. So it's a very strong special 1 Omicron. Now moving on to special 2, which is another Omicron ability. This is called Showboat. Deal physical damage to all enemies, trigger all stacks of bleed on them, detonate all thermal detonators on them, and stun them for 1 turn. If Rotta was the only ally at the start of battle, this stun can't be evaded or resisted. So that's a very strong AoE stun from Rotta the Hutt. If any enemy is defeated by this ability, all Hutt Cartel allies gain 20% turn meter. Really, really good. While in Grand Arena, this is the Omicron. If all allies were Hutt Cartel at the start of battle, tank allies recover 10% protection for each enemy damaged by this ability. And attacker allies gain 10% defense penetration for a max of 50% each time this ability is used. So that's really, really strong. If Rotta the Hutt was the only ally at the start of battle, this ability instantly defeats enemies below 40% health, excluding Galactic Legends and Raid bosses, and Rotta recovers 50% health and protection for each enemy defeated by this ability. So this is really, really powerful. What this is doing, it's adding an instant defeat for enemies below 40% health. So when you're having a hard time and you might not be able to kill the enemy because you can't get that execute without this Omicron, this could really help you out. So this reminds me of a lot of like the League of Legends item Collector. Collector is an item where you put on a unit where if they attack an enemy below a certain health threshold, they instantly pop. So this is very reminiscent of that ability. Pretty much, you're going to do this. Anyone below a certain health threshold is going poof, instantly defeated. It's very, very powerful. And you're going to see later on in his kit that when he's solo, enemies can't be revived. So that's going to be a very powerful ability. And he's recovering a boatload of health and protection for each enemy defeated this way. So it's a really strong Omicron. I do like it a lot. Now we're moving on to the leadership. This is not an Omicron. This is just a Zeta leadership. Going over a lot of what we were talking about earlier. Hutt Cartel allies gain 50% accuracy and crit avoidance, 200% defense, 75% offense, 50 speed, and 40% tenacity. So those are crazy stat boosts given to your character. So that's why I like the crit avoid, because it ties in very well with this leadership. And the defense is crazy, the offense is crazy, all really good stats. Dark side, Hutt Cartel allies and Rotta gain 75% counter chance and 50% critical chance. Really good. The first time each Hutt Cartel ally falls below 50% health, they gain damage immunity for 1 turn, recover 20% health and protection, and ally tank allied tanks taunt for 2 turns. So it's a nice little recovery move where you're going to get damage immunity, kind of like the Datacrons we see a lot, recovering health and protection, and other tanks are going to taunt. Whenever a Darkside Hutt Cartel ally or Rotta inflicts a stack of bleed or a thermal detonator on an enemy, they gain 5% turn meter and recover 5% health and protection. So that's what I mean. Like, Rotta doesn't have to be lightning fast because he's going to be gaining really a lot of turn meter. They're going to be inflicting bleed a lot, and thermal detonators. You're going to see it later on in the kit. If Rotta the Hutt was the only ally at the start of battle, he gains 250% max health and protection, 50% health steal, 25 speed, and he can't be instantly defeated. Whenever he is ability blocked, blinded, dazed, feared, or stunned, he dispels it, inflicts 1 stack of bleed until the end of the encounter, and then 1 thermal detonator on all enemies for 2 turns, which can't be evaded or resisted. Really, really strong. If it can't be dispelled, he also gains damage immunity for 1 turn, which can't be dispelled. So this is really, really strong of a mechanic. The only thing that I'm not seeing here that will actually hurt him is going to be heal immunity. If he's inflicted with heal immunity, that could really cause issues. So someone like Ben Solo with an unresistible heal immunity could maybe cause issues for Rotta the Hutt if he can't cleanse that right away, because that's a 4-turn heal immunity and he won't be able to heal. But other than that, ability block, blinded, dazed, feared, or stunned, he's dispelling it and inflicting bleed and a thermal detonator on enemies. So it's a very strong mechanic. I do feel, like I said, heal immunity will be a problemo for Rotta, but there's certain teams where the heal immunity is unresistible. So if you mod him for tenacity for a certain counter, might not make the biggest difference because of like what I just said. But anyway, it's a very strong Zeta. I think he's going to be extremely powerful with all those stat boosts. So that's his leadership. We're now moving into his unique, which is a Zeta and an Omicron. It's called Pidunki Mufkin. I hope I'm saying that correct. That's probably what he says in the movie. Ally Hutt Cartel tanks taunt for 2 turns at the start of battle. Whenever Darkside support allies attack an enemy, all allies recover 10% health protection and turn meter. Darkside Hutt Cartel allies and Rotta can ignore taunt effects during their turn. All Hutt Cartel allies are immune to cooldown increase, and Rotta is immune to thermal detonators. So what this screams to me is that Jabba is going to be destroyed by Rotta on defense, because if you can't inflict a thermal detonator on him and he's immune to instant defeat, he's screwed. Him being immune to cooldown increase is also extremely powerful, so people like Nihilus or Queen Amidala will not impact Rotta the Hutt. If Rotta the Hutt had a full squad of Hutt Cartel allies at the start of battle, whenever they have turn meter removed, Rotta has a 50% chance to gain a bonus turn. So if there's a team with crazy heavy turn meter removal, so that's why people were worried about if Rotta is solo and you have a heavy turn meter removal team, he's never going to take a turn. This destroys any turn meter removal because he's going to gain a bonus turn, and that bypasses any sort of daze or anything like that. So it's really strong. If Rotta was the only ally at the start of battle, whenever an enemy removes turn meter from him, he deals damage to all enemies equal to 10% of their max health. So he's dealing damage to anyone gaining turn meter, and has an additional 30% chance to gain a bonus turn. So what that means, he has an 80% chance to gain a bonus turn when turn meter is being removed. That is an extremely high chance. So CLS, I mean, there's so many turn meter removal memes. Right now I'm thinking CLS because that's the biggest one. DTMG, they're all going to take damage. He's going to gain a bonus turn. So turn meter removal teams are going to have a hard time. Really have a hard time. While in Grand Arena, if all allies are Hutt Cartel at the start of battle, this is the Omicron. All allies gain 50% max health. If all other allies are Darkside, whenever they or Rotta is inflicted with a debuff, they inflict a thermal detonator on the enemy that applied it for 2 turns, which can't be evaded or resisted. Whenever Rotta defeats an enemy, the cooldown of Showboat is decreased by 1, and all allies gain protection, 40% stacking, until the end of the encounter. If Rotta was the only ally at the start of battle, he takes reduced damage from percent health effects, and defeated enemies can't be revived. I think this one is a extremely powerful Omicron. Anti-revive, extra 50% max health, inflicting thermal detonators, reducing cooldowns, giving protection, bonus protection, which I said is based off your max health, cooldown increase, and you're immune to percent max health damage. It's just a very powerful Omicron, a essential one for sure. Now, part of this is going to turn off if you put a regular Hutt Cartel squad with like Bausch Leia, because you need all Darkside. So a part of it will be turned off, but she's going to be applying a bunch of thermals anyway. So if you're deciding on what team you're going to use with him, just keep in mind part of the Omicron is going to be turned off if you use Baushlea. But by far, this is a extremely powerful Omicron, and it really turns him into a powerhouse. The anti-revive is very important, and being immune to percent max health is very essential in my opinion. So that's going to be his kit. I had to go over that before I described everything with the modding. I had to go over it to show why I'm modding him the way I am and going over everything in terms of Omicron and Zeta order. So, what we're going to move on to next is going to be the Zeta order. So, the first one is going to be a Legacy Reforged, and what I'm going to do is I have on my other screen is exactly read out what the Zeta is providing. So I think this one is very important because what this is doing is that it prevents him from being debuffed because it literally is dispelling it. So this is the part of the kit where if he's ability blocked, blinded, dazed, feared, or stunned, he's dispelling it and inflicting bleed, and he's inflicting also thermal detonators on all enemies, which can't be evaded. He's also gaining damage immunity, which can't be dispelled if it's an undispellable debuff. So I think that's really important. Pretty much keeps him very much immune to debuffs for the most part, and really is going to shred the team with bleed and thermal detonators. So I think that's by far the strongest Zeta. The next one is going to be his unique, because what this unique is providing is a 20% chance to gain a bonus turn, and all dark side Hutt Cartel allies and Rotta can ignore taunt effects during their turn. So taunting is not going to matter with the Zeta, and they're immune to cooldown increase, and he's immune to thermal detonators. So I think this is the second most important because it's just the bonus turn is nice, being able to ignore taunt, the cooldown increase immunity, and also being immune to thermal detonators is just a very powerful Zeta. The next one I want to showcase that it's going to be in third place for me is going to be Showboat. The Zeta is providing is Rotta detonates all thermal detonators on all enemies. If Rotta was the only ally at the start of battle, the stun can't be evaded or resisted. So the reason why this is the third most important is because you're getting an unresistible AoE stun, which is very, very strong, and he's detonating all thermal detonators. So that's going to be even more damage. That's a very important Zeta. That's third. And the fourth one is going to be his Knock 'em Dead Zeta, and this is if Rotta the Hutt had a full squad of Hutt Cartel at the start of battle, all other allies assist. If all enemies are inflicted with off balance, Rotta gains a bonus turn and 40% offense for one turn. So this is obviously a very strong Zeta, and I recommend that everyone that has Rotta the Hutt applies all four. But this is more of a luxury compared to the other three, I think. I think the AoE stun is better than the bonus turn. I also think that, obviously, calling all allies to assist is great, but he's going to be a solo character regardless. I think he's going to be better off on offense as a solo unit, maybe after the Focus Datacron, because during the Focus Datacron, he's going to be very defensive. But that's going to be my fourth place one. So those are all the Zetas. Regardless of the order, I recommend you apply all of them because they're all very, very important for him. Now, we're moving on to the Omicron order. And I think it's fairly obvious from what I said what's going to be in first, but I'm going to show you guys anyway. Omicron order is going to be his unique Punkti Mufkin, which is going to be his unique, which is providing crazy boost to him in terms of the max health, anti-revive, the percent max health immunity, so many other things, the bonus protection. It's a very important unique. I think it's going to be by far his most important and the number one you're going to want to do. So Omicron order is going to be the unique first. The second one is going to be Showboat. The Showboat one, like I said earlier, is going to instantly defeat enemies at the 40% health threshold. He's recovering health and protection, and your tank allies are recovering protection, and attackers are gaining defense penetration. So I think the Showboat one is a second very strong Omicron. And in third place, and that does not mean it's a bad one. Just because it's in third does not mean it's bad. I promise. It's Knock 'em Dead. And what this is doing is that the ability can't be evaded. So all that bleed is and off balance should not be resisted. So he should be gaining a bonus turn. I think it's also removing turn meter and gaining an offense boost. So there's a good argument for 2 and 3 to be swapped. But I really think that having the insta-kill is very, very important for the 40% threshold. Because if he can't get to that point where he's killing units, he might have a hard time. So I think this is the correct order. Want to know what you guys think. And then for the last slide, what I want to talk about is going to be my personal recommendations for the unit. Once you get him up and running, or even at 7-star at a later on point, because I know a lot of players are not going to have him right away up and running. But what I plan on doing is I will be applying all 3 Omicrons, because I think he's going to be a powerhouse team on offense, and for the next couple months, a powerhouse team on defense because of number 3. His Focus Datacron is activating his solo effects with a full squad. So whatever Rotta the Hutt is supposed to do on offense solo, he's going to be doing it on defense. So if you have a high relic 7-star Rotta the Hutt, he's going to be an absolute nightmare to deal with. And what I plan on doing with him is taking him to relic 9/relic 10. I think having him at relic 9 is going to be powerful to spread, mitigate the relic delta gap. He's a solo unit. He needs the relic levels, so no regrets bringing him up and running. Me personally, I'll be taking him to relic 10 because I did end up taking him to 7-star. He's going to be needed for the assault battle to get those extra rewards. It'd be dumb of me not to do it. So that's going to be my recommendation for you guys. Again, not everyone's going to have Rotta the Hutt at 7-star. If you have him at 5 or 6-star, he's still going to perform very well. You just have to keep in mind the relic delta, but he's still going to perform extremely powerful. Whether you're early, mid, or late game, Rotta the Hutt is going to be a great part of your roster. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and this is a little bit of a recommendation for Rotta the Hutt before he comes out. If you guys did enjoy it, don't forget to drop a like, comment, subscribe for more content, and keep in mind tomorrow's video. On Monday, we will be giving away we'll be doing the giveaway announcement from the video last week, going over my channel giveaway. 5 Knights of Vex. You have to comment on that video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and you're going to be in the running for a giveaway. So that winner, or those winners, will be announced in tomorrow's video. So thank you guys again for tuning in. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. May the Force be with you all. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.